kind of crazy though. Can you imagine? So these bucks come in here, they're fighting, they're rumbling, snap it off. It's kind of cooler than finding a shed.
See how they turn brown?
Got into the mud. Oh, look at it. It has a little caterpillar on it.
Yeah, little caterpillar.
No spider.
Cool.
Ain't that cool?
You want to go get it?
Oh, yeah, sure. I was looking up the birds. Nice job, Dad.
Cool.
Looking up at
Let's
those
see.
birds. Good birds.
That's turning.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I hope we can find his other side. The buck we call the turn-in 10. You know, it's interesting, we found one of his antlers like this last year in this same food plot by burning it. And the other one was just inside the timber there, so pretty cool. It's a big food plot, it's 8 acres, it was corn, it grew up in foxtail. And it's just impossible to like walk through it and find any sheds, so burning it off is an awesome way to find these things. Welcome back to another week of Midwest Whitetail. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about prescribed fire or controlled burning as a means to improving the habitat on your property. We're going to jump over and talk with Justin and Tyler down in Missouri about some of the burning they've done. They've done some timber burns, and then we've been working the last couple of weeks down at the River Bottom Farm, and we're actually out here today. It's Saturday. We're going to do the last 20-acre field. Over the past week, I've come after work a few times in the afternoon and burned about 50 acres so far in about 6 different spots. And so we just rode them all and checked them. Those afternoons I burned were after dark, and so weren't able to check them for antlers. So we just rode around and picked up a few. The best one was off of the turn-in 10. So pretty cool to find him that way. We found his antler the same way last year. That's another big advantage of burning all this grass off, is picking up some of these sheds that, you know, I personally would never run into. Just can't cover all the big grass fields. But another thing I wanted to mention before we get started on this last field is how I do my fire breaks. I mean, I have a 15-foot batwing mower that I use, but before that I was using a 6-footer. Basically aim for that 15 to 20 foot wide break. I used to do it in the spring, and I learned, you know, that thatch is too much fuel, and so we keep them mowed short all year, and then I mow one last time in October, or just late in the season after the grass is done growing, and then we have all winter for that thatch to decay, and we're riding the side-by-side on it, and you know, by the time it comes time in the spring to burn, those breaks there's just no fuel in them, and so the fire has a really hard time getting across it. This is another thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about burning your fields. Well, we're gonna get started on this burn, and while we're doing that, we're gonna jump over to Justin and Tyler in Missouri while they cover some of the things they've done down on their farm. And then we'll circle back and show you guys some of the work out here and show you DK's antler. One of the nights we were burning, literally in the dark last field, we picked up one of his sides, and for those of you that follow along, you'll know he was a really great, probably 170s 5-year-old last year that we filmed a few times and passed him late season, and he's going to be the primary buck that I'm after this year. So it's cool to find one of his sheds, and hopefully we can pick up the other one. Hope you guys enjoy the show.
Just come up on the 10-acre set here, and I looked over toward Tyler, and I can see tines over here, which looks to be a pretty good deer.
Oh, that's Vita. Holy cow. Well, you finally caught up with him.
Hope that's a good sign. We ain't even 25 yards from the 10-acre set. This is a deer I was hunting before I caught up to that buck we called Marty this year.
I literally just got in the stand, and it's the buck I'm in here after, Velveeta.
He's yet to slip by me again in bow range. I couldn't do nothing about it.
So we've got high hopes for this guy for next year.
Off to a good start, man.
That's old Velveeta. Right here in the same plot that I was having all them encounters. That right there is where I had the redneck setting, but we're up here today frost seeding, and I come right around the corner here, and it was a no-brainer when we seen that split G2 on there, who it was. So we've got high hopes for this deer, and hopefully we can kill him on this particular plot where we found the shed on next year. So that matches it up, as we found the other one the other day. I would say probably 600-700 yards to the south of us here in the sanctuary over there. So that's pretty neat.
K2. Well, we just picked up the one side of K2 here. This is that deer that was hanging out with Crab King before I closed the chapter on him, and we're super excited about this deer. Probably one of our main targets on that peninsula. Stand again next year if he does what he did this year. Squirrels beat us to him a little bit, but that's part of it. Well guys, it is crazy to think that it's already the middle of March, but here we are. And we've been busy the last couple weeks. We did a controlled burn already. We found several really good sheds, so a lot of the target deer coming up. We're up here today. It's a perfect conditions to burn off the timber. So we're gonna go ahead and get after it here.
I don't want to get too far ahead here. We'll need it down there. I think
Steady, 7-8 mile an hour.
Do you think I need to go ahead and go down to this side here?
Probably.
Well, I mean, because no one needs to watch that. You stay here.
Yeah, I don't see it jumping this road, but
Down there in the corner would be my old thing.
all right.
We'll watch here.
What are you doing, man? Sit down.
So as I was coming down through the west side of our timber here, I wanted to go over one thing. The timber here behind me, it looks fairly thick, and it always has been thick. Over the years, we've had success in here. Justin harvested that misfit deer. DT, he was using this block of timber, and we've always found a large amount of sheds out of here. We picked up Velveetas one side out of here, and then that swoosh deer, he was also in here. But working with our forester, Joe, he informed me that at some point in time, this particular area was grazed either with cattle or with hogs, and he could tell that by the amount of maples and hickories and then that thorny underbrush that's in here. So this is one area that we're gonna work on. He's gonna come in here and clear this pretty hard, and that's gonna allow the sunlight to get down to the forest floor and regenerate the type of growth that we're looking for. You know, it's gonna get the acorns down on the soil, and then You know, years down the road, we'll have big, healthy oaks in here, and it'll continue to be a thick area. And the cool part about the whole TSI program and this plan that's in place is that we're working with the MDC, and they cover part of the cost. So, you know, we register, we apply for the funding, and you have to get approved and, you know, go through the step-by-step process. But, you know, it really does help to be able to have a lot of this cost covered. So, you know, if people are wanting to get out and do this type of thing, you don't have to stress that, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to afford it, because they will help with the cost share, and it makes it easier on everybody all the way around. So it's going good. We're excited. Six-mile-an-hour wind.
What we're going to be doing tonight is a controlled burn. This is something we feel like that a lot of people overlook, as it is a very valuable thing to do to a piece of property, and it's something me and Tyler have worked on in the last couple of years, as a timber is 50%, the deer spend 50% of the time browsing in there as they do the other 50% out in the ag fields. And we've been fortunate to be working with the NRCS, and we was lucky enough to get qualified for EQIP plan. And what that is, it's a TSI program, and what we have to do there is we have to get a forest management plan in place, and we've got that scheduled for mid-June, and then we've already got on the books for the timber cut next summer. And what this does to a property, and why it's so valuable, is it takes the foliage from 200 to 300 pounds and it bumps it up to 2,000 to 3,000 pounds of browsing. And that's just basically a massive food plot in a timber, and it just gets, you know, that much more nutrients to the deer. And it's not only for the deer, it's for everything, for your timber as well. As you know, by us doing the burn, it's going to get the oak regeneration started, and then it just opens up the forest floor. So that's one of the main things that we like to do on the properties that we manage. So we've got perfect conditions tonight, so we're going to get after it here. That's going to wrap it up for us here, as we've got this controlled burn done on this timber. This particular piece is what we call the buck 30. This is the particular farm that we're going to be chasing two other bucks we call K2 and B9, as they're using this area a lot, as we got high hopes for them bucks. But it'd be interesting to see what this fire does for this particular piece as the spring warm-up comes. So we got one more other burn to do on this particular farm, so that's going to wrap it up for us.
Needs to get hotter in here. Look how much more greener it is than, look at those briars back in there where it's so dark.
Yeah, so it works. Oh yeah, you can tell it got roasted.
It's crazy to think that April's already here, and we've been pretty busy in the off season up here at our main farm. As you guys can tell, we had a pretty successful shed season and did quite a few controlled burns. But Justin and I decided to come up here today to take a peek at our forest and see where it really stands after those burns, and it did its job. About 95% of those blackberry briars were burnt, and we plan on coming through with the herbicide and knocking the rest of those back. But everything looks great. Spring is right here, and within the next couple weeks we'll be planting our main food plots. This food plot here behind me, as you guys remember, that's where I harvested that Crab King buck. It's a plot that we call the Peninsula plot, and we also had many encounters with the deer that we called K2, which we were lucky enough to match up, and we feel like he could really turn into something special. But what makes this particular area pretty unique to us is the entry and exit, and being able to hunt these deer from the outside in. You know, we can park on the outskirts, come in undetected. The deer are coming out of the bedding and transitioning into the big ag. We used to hunt this particular plot out of a fixed position many years ago, and in the last couple years we've implemented a redneck blind, because with the true north wind, there's this valley here over my shoulder, and it creates a suction, and being able to conceal ourselves to where the deer come out of the bedding and then get up to us we can then crack the window, and they're already past that downwind side. So it's a pretty special area to us, and Justin inquired the piece to the north that we're referring to as the Buck 30. So we're pretty excited about this particular area, as there's several good target bucks using this east side of our farm, and we feel like with what we did inside the timber and what we have coming with our food plots, we're really going to improve our odds for next year. The fire is a very useful tool. We used it in our timber to control some of the aspects of that, and as you guys will see, Mike Reed uses fire in a little bit different of an environment, and he has a pretty big story to share with you guys.
How you doing?
Doing great.
You know, the fire breaks are greening up pretty nice, and like I said, it can't really go anywhere.
I got a bag of bare root trees over here. Bought a bunch of trees from Iowa State. Planted all weekend.
Yeah, there's a little bit of fuel here.
Yeah, it's pretty dry. I think with the wind like it is, we don't have to worry too much about it getting into that. And that field is nice and bare, so with the south wind, even if we burn that whole trail over, it should be good. All right, I think we should try it. You guys ready? Well, it's Monday, April 10th, and me and some of the guys are down here at the River Bottom Farm getting some of this burning done. I got done at the office today and came down. We finally got a little dry spell. It's actually a little bit drier than I would like, but we're finally getting this done. And I look back at last year, we burned April 9th, so it seems to be a pattern out here with when it's actually dry enough to burn, and you know, balancing and how late we get it in the green up. In these wetlands, we can burn 33% per year. And I've got quite a few stands of natives out here, and so I always try to get those burned to keep them as healthy as possible, keep that stand nice and thick, and get rid of some of the trees that are sprouting up. Like I said, it's a little dry, but there's not much wind, so conditions are reasonable, and we're just going to take it nice and slow. Just going to light one spot at a time and just keep control of each edge and try to get some of these areas knocked out. Doing good. Earlier I said, you know, we're gonna take it slow, and what I mean by that specifically is just lighting one spot. So I took the propane torch and just lit one single spot and just let it spread from there. You know, we're each able to take an edge and take it nice and easy, as opposed to the dripper torch where I light maybe a 50-foot segment or longer. And then, you know, with real dry conditions, and if the wind decides to swirl or kick, it pushes it across the fire break. Nice and easy. We've been just walking this, taking our time, letting it burn into the wind, and just keeping that edge put out. My technique normally, you know, if the conditions are just perfect and I'm not worried about it getting out, there's not a grass patch right across or buildings nearby, you know, I basically go on the downwind side of what I want to burn and light that and let it burn into the wind. It'll burn nice and slow. And what that effectively does is widen my fire break. And you know, ideally you're in the morning and the humidity's 40–50% or so, and you know, all those things help you keep control of the fire. But if you burn into the wind, get your break nice and wide, get everything put out on the edges, you can walk around to the upwind side and light it, and it'll just carry that burn right into what you've already burned. That's a pretty effective way, and that's how we did all the fills at the home farm. It's really hard for those to get out and go anywhere, so some of those situations you can be a little more aggressive, but going slow never fails. You just need to be patient. So sometimes that's a struggle, obviously, but really happy with how this is going. We're gonna get this field wrapped up and move on to the next one. We're super stoked to pick up this antler. Decided to come get one more little pocket burn. This little pocket is a really safe area to burn, surrounded by water on 3 sides. So with the last 20 minutes of light, came and lit it up. And lo and behold, the main set of antlers we're looking to find ended up finding DK's left side, laying in these natives. So super pumped to find them. He broke this G3 off in September. You guys saw we encountered him and passed him late season when I decided to shoot Kelsey. Buck I chased all last year. This guy's gonna be my #1 target this year. So hopefully tomorrow we're gonna get back out here and finish burning, and hopefully we can find the other side. Awesome ending to a beautiful afternoon.